Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize the gentleman from the 2nd District of Pangasinan, Honorable Mark Cojuangco, for him to avail the privilege.
The gentleman from the 2nd District of Pangasinan, the chairperson of the Nuclear Power, Congressman Mark Cojuangco, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, it's late, and I was hoping for a bigger audience so that my colleagues could question my privileged speech. However, let me proceed. Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege. My speech is centered on the COP28, or the 28th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This representation has made several privileged speeches in this House, emphasizing and highlighting the important role that nuclear energy plays in alleviating poverty and providing comprehensive economic advancement for the Philippines. It is my earnest desire to alleviate mass poverty via cheaper electricity that will attract investments, local and foreign, generate massive employment opportunities, and national progress. It remains a mystery why the Department of Energy appears oblivious to the increasingly evident benefits of nuclear power now recognized worldwide. It bears stressing that DOE is overlooking a significant opportunity of making this a centerpiece program of the government in alleviating poverty in the country. The COP28, or the 28th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, was held in Dubai, the UAE, last December 2023. You can see the photo there in the back, and you can read the caption on the stage, which calls for a tripling of nuclear power in the world. It was the first COP where major countries around the world, maybe I should state the countries, there was Sweden, the United Kingdom, France, USA, Korea, and the UAE, supported by, at that time, 18 other countries, for a total of 22 countries. Now there are already 25 countries supporting these declarations. Major countries around the world officially recognize nuclear as an essential tool in addressing global warming and climate change. Number one, by declaring that the catchphrase, net zero by 2050, is impossible without at least some, defined as approximately one-third, nuclear. Number two, declaring their support for the tripling of world nuclear capacity by 2050. And three, to achieve this, a third declaration from these countries that they will work towards making cheap financing for nuclear, amounting to around $9.3 trillion available for nuclear new build. It is not surprising, therefore, why Korea, which is the most qualified to commission our 100% complete yet mothballed nuclear power plant, has offered the Philippines to undertake a full economic feasibility study, costing at least $4 million for free, without requiring a commitment to proceed on our part, even if the study produces positive results. If such an economic feasibility study is being objected to by our DOE on the grounds that it is being done by a vendor, then the counter-argument is that it can be vetted by independent nuclear consulting companies in the United States, of which there are several. We, the Philippines, could ask the assistance of the U.S. government to also provide these studies for free, funded by either the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, or the United States International Development Finance Corporation, USIDFC, or other appropriate U.S. government entities, given that the EPIRA law prohibitions on local funding. It boggles the mind that this study, which majority of the Nuclear Energy Program Interagency Committee, the NEPIAC, agree should be done, has been gathering dust at the desk of those who are in charge at the DOE for close to 6 months now. So much so that the risk of losing Korean funding authority for this is real and imminent. What a waste of a golden opportunity to determine once and for all and definitively the economic feasibility of our very own fully paid for and very well built Philippine Nuclear Power Plant number 1. May I reiterate to this chamber that the only reason that would justify nuclear power in the Philippines is that it can give vastly cheaper electricity and save us billions of US dollars annually in foreign exchange during operations. Nuclear power, because of its unmatched energy density, is truly magical in this regard, requiring infinitesimally less fuel versus coal or LNG. Energy density is also the reason why nuclear enhances national security. Just-in-time coal or gas delivery by ships means fuel inventory is always en route on ships to coal and gas plants. Unlike nuclear, where 18 months of fuel inventory is physically present inside the reactor without the need for physical delivery whatsoever. To give an example of the much lower price of nuclear versus fossil fuels, I present the following. Coal is 19 times more expensive than nuclear, while LNG is 27 times more expensive than nuclear. Sample computation, say, let's take US dollars to 30 million times 27, is approximately 515 million US dollars worth of LNG. Ang laki po ng diferensya. Fit all. In the news, they are now allowing fit all to be collected again for RE to the tune of 3.64 centavos per kilowatt hour. For context, my distinguished colleagues from the Committee on Energy, were balking at the 1 centavo per kilowatt hour request to fund the PhilAtom Regulatory Authority. They approved only half a centavo per kilowatt hour. And here we have a newly instituted 3.64 centavos per kilowatt hour for RE. Who is complaining? Are we complaining in this August chamber? Our economic consultant, who has 12 years of experience in doing financing studies for generating companies, and has worked for the National Power Corporation, NAPOCOR, and Power Sector Assets Liabilities Management, PSAM, has come up with some numbers on the PNPP-1 commissioning costs. We have the chart there showing these costs. And if you will note, there's a number for $1.5 billion investment in PNPP1 and a $2.2 billion investment number for PNPP1. And in those numbers, the prices of electricity to be sold by PNPP1 range from 2 pesos and 50 centavos all the way to 4 pesos. The average, the middle line is less than 3 pesos and 50 centavos per kilowatt hour. I want you to compare that to the recent auction by Meralco for coal electricity, which is close to 7 pesos per kilowatt hour. It is clear that nuclear electricity is cheaper and will halve or lower than half the price of our power generation. As per our calculations, PNPP1 could deliver an electricity price between 250 per kilowatt hour and 356 per kilowatt hour, depending on the total investment needed. This assumes a recovery of 20 years and has a cost of equity of around 15% and a cost of debt of 3%. It should be of note that the Korean Exim Bank is currently giving financing at 0.05% interest rate with a 40-year payback period and a 20-year grace period. So, distinguished colleagues, mura talaga ang nuclear. The implication of all of this, which I have told you this afternoon, especially the events which happened at COP28, the declarations of these major countries, is that after the first OPEC oil crisis in 1973, when gas lines were long and we had a crisis in electricity prices and supply, then President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. decided that the way out for the Philippines was to embark on a nuclear energy program. What has transpired at COP28, 37 years after the events at EDSA, is the strongest evidence so far that Marcos Sr. was prescient and correct in his decision to pursue nuclear power in the Philippines. This correctness has manifested itself most strongly in the 2022 national elections, when the phenomenon of PBBM's landslide win was a direct result of pushback from the people who were sick and tired of the unfulfilled post-EDSA promises, among which was the lower price of energy and electricity. The high prices since then, which has paralyzed the Philippine economy and made us an avoided investment destination in Southeast Asia. So much so that we were economically left behind by our neighbors. Now is our chance to learn from the past and take a new direction with the only technology which our fossil fuel poor country has yet to try. Our DOE must take cognizance of this. It must inform all agencies about the benefits of nuclear power, including for the environment, but most especially for electricity prices and huge foreign exchange savings. Distinguished colleagues, where is the energy at the Department of Energy? Ang dami pong nagsasarang malalaking offshore wind projects sa Amerika at Europa. Kahit sa Mindoro, kinancel na po. Nagbubulag-bulagan ba o kulang sa kaalamang ang ating DOE? Bakit po tuloy ang sulong natin sa isang talunan na teknolohiya na tinatalikuran na ng iba? Nahihiya ba ang DOE na magmungkahi sa ating Pangulo tungkol sa isang solusyon na dapat ipaglaban. I'm talking about nuclear. Bakit ba sa napakalaking projection ng ating NEDA na dapat doblehin o triplehin ang ating kapasidad sa paglikha ng kuryente from 22,000 to 44,000 to 60,000, 66,000 megawatts per year by 2040, 2,500 megawatts lang by 2050 ang pinaplano ng ating DOE sa nuclear. Hindi po tayo siseryosohin ng mga nuclear vendors kung ganyan po ang ating deklaradong policy sa nuclear power. Malaki ang espasyo para sa 16,000 hanggang 32,000 megawatts ng nuclear at marami pa ring lugar para sa wind and solar. Hindi pa iyan ginagalaw ang pangkasalukuyang itinatayong ang nakatayong 16,500 megawatts na fossil fuel generating capacity ng Pilipinas sa ngayon. Hindi po tayo seseryosohin ng nuclear vendors ng mundo kung binibiro lang natin sila sa 2,500 megawatts by 2050. Siguro nagiging maliwanag po na ang totoong balak ng ating DOE ay na hindi magtagumpay ang nuclear sa Pilipinas. Why, distinguished colleagues? Are they protecting vested interest? Is the direction to make us ultra-dependent on imported LNG, which the rich countries are all trying to buy and compete for? Kaya ba nating kalabanin ang mayayamang mga bansa sa pakikipag-agawan nitong napaka-kaunting commodity? Kawawa naman ang mga mahihirap. Kawawa ang mga negosyante. Kawawa ang industriya. Paano natin maililikha ang milyong-milyong trabaho na kailangan natin? Kawawa ang pamilyang Pilipino. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, Your Honors, for misleading our President, I call for the immediate replacement of the Energy Secretary. Let us then focus on delivering our aggregate mandate to improve the lives of every Filipino. Maraming salamat po. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Chairman Mark Cojuangco. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the gentleman from APEC Party List, the Honorable Gook, for his interpellation.
Congressman Gook, APEC Party List, you are hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. For the Chairman of the Special Committee on Nuclear Energy, yield to some clarificatory questions.
With pleasure, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker, one of the content of the gentleman in his privileged speech is the fora in Davos. Am I correct, Mr. Speaker?
Yes po. Alam niyo po, nadismaya po ako doon sa Davos. Kasi po, 22 na mahalagang bansa, malalaking maimpluwensyang bansa, ang nag-attend po ng deklarasyon. Kahit 10 government official ng 290 delegation ng Pilipinas, wala pong pumunta kahit isa. Ako lang po ang nag-iisang nandoon. Wala po si DOE, wala po si DNR, wala po yung mga ibang ahensya. Walang nakinig kung ano po ang binitawang mga salita doon sa deklarasyon.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, that is supposed to be my question. No? However, having said that, can I ask the opinion or view of the gentleman with regards to the non-appearance or non-participation of our Department of Energy on that particular fora?
May nagsabi po sa akin na inimbita sila. Hindi ko po alam kung totoo o hindi. So hindi ko po masisi pa hanggang hindi ko malaman ang punot dulo kung naimbita ba talaga sila. Or maaari rin pong binabaliwala nila ang nuclear. Kaya hindi po sila dumating dahil may bias po sila against nuclear. Nabanggit ko po dito sa aking privilege speech na may offer po ang Korea. Ang Office of the President ng Korea went out of its way to find the funding and authorize it so that KHMP could do a free feasibility study with no strings attached. Meaning po, kahit gaano kaganda ang feasibility study, wala pong requirement na ituloy po natin yan. So, dapat, para sa akin, no-brainer po yan na dapat sana tinanggap po natin. 6 months na po na pasa-pasa, pumunta po yan sa DFA, sabi ko po doon sa DFA Secretary, mag-ingat po kayo dyan dahil ginagamit po kayong excuse sa delay. Sila naman ang lead agency, hindi po kayo. Bakit sa inyo tinapon? So, ganun po ang pangyayari dyan. Pasa-pasa po. As recently as this afternoon, I have been in text communication with Secretary Popo. And hindi po ako kontento sa mga sagot na aking nakuha tungkol ko kung bakit unilaterally we canceled the signing for this January. Hindi niya po ako mabigyan ng sagot kailan naka-schedule ulit o pababayaan na lang na mag-lapse po ito.
Mr. Speaker, sa palagay po ba ng kagalang-galang na representante ng na chairman ng ating Committee on Nuclear Energy, bakit po ba nandun yung 22 bansa sa pagtitipon na yon? Kaano po ba kahalaga sa kanila yung pagtitipon na yon sa iyong palagay, Mr. Speaker?
Malaki po ang kahalagahan nila kasi marami po dyan, may balak na mag-nuclear na. So, basahin ko po ang 22 countries. Ukraine, Sweden, Slovenia, Slovakia, Poland, Netherlands, Morocco, Mongolia, Moldova, Hungary, Ghana, Finland, Czech Republic, Canada, Bulgaria, Japan, South Korea, France, United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates at United States po. Ngayon, 25 na po ito. Hindi ko po alam kung sino yung nadagdag dito, ngunit lahat po itong bansa ay anxious na magkaroon ng karagdagang o bagong nuclear capacity sa kanilang mga bansa.
Mr. Speaker, as chairperson of that Special Committee on Nuclear Energy, knowing the importance of this technology to save the stability and reliability of our electrical system, which I think last December and this January in Panay and Negros Island, we experienced a 4 days blackout. Based on NGCP, there are power plants who is in forced outage. So there is a lack of power supply. So with the information, Mr. Speaker, being divulged by the gentleman, as chairperson of the Committee on Nuclear Energy, how can you maximize that Davos Fora, no, attended by those countries to convince even the president, to have an urgent look at this nuclear technology for our power supply portfolio. Paano po natin ma-maximize ang paggamit niyan, Mr. Speaker, para makumbinsi yung ating Pangulo na bigyan ng kahalagahan, no, in the urgent possible, as soon as possible, na mabigyan kahalagahan ang usaping ito, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, maganda po ang tanong. Tayo po ay siniswerte dahil dun po sa deklarasyon, doon sa COP28, in-announce din na there will be a nuclear summit sa Belgium, March 21 to 22, 2024, sa Brussels, Belgium. Imbitado po ang lahat ng head of state doon. Sana po puntahan ng ating Pangulo dahil doon niya po makikita ang commitment nitong 25 bansa na talagang itutulak na ang nuclear power mula ngayon. So, dapat niya rin siguro madinig sa bunganga mismo ng ibang leaders dito kung bakit nila medyo tinatalikuran ang wind and solar. Ang number one po reason niyan ay yung intermittency na hindi naaasahan lagi, lalong-lalo na pagkailangan. Ang isang malaking dahilan po sa panay ay yung napakalaking solar installation sa Bacolod, kung saan po pag bumaba na ang araw o nagkaroon po ng kulimlim, bagsak po ang generating capacity. Ang problema po, kulang ang spinning reserve to assure stability of the grid. So, kanino pong kasalanan yan? For me, ang tingin ko po dyan ay medyo may pagkukulang ang pagplano ng ating DOE. Kung ano ba talaga ang dapat mga reserve capacity sa bawat grid po natin. And so, bakit po napapayagang ganyan yan? At kung sino-sino na lang ang sinisisi tuwing magkakaroon po ng krisis. And so, dapat po tignan ng Committee on Energy. Hindi po yung committee natin, Committee on Energy. Ano ba ang status ng spinning reserve capacities natin sa lahat po ng sektor ng ating grid? At talagang usisain po ng mabuti. Ano ba ang katotohanan? Ano ba ang punot dulo sa unreliability ng ating grid? Para sa akin, hindi dapat tratuhin ang DOE as a sacred cow na hindi pwedeng i-criticize. Tignan po natin ang katotohanan.
Mr. Speaker, I fully agree with the gentleman that I am not against, for the record, renewable energy, but I fully agree. And I keep on saying this, that if you have bigger power plants from solar or wind, you also need, the same capacity of that power plant. Actually, it's regulating reserve, because every time intermittency will occur, you need to regulate the frequency, because it is the frequency of the grid that will goes down. So you need regulating reserve equivalent to that capacity. So on the part of the Committee on Nuclear Energy, Mr. Speaker, I urge the gentleman to maximize the Davos Fora as well as with the information that he has with the incoming another pura to entice, no, or convince the leadership that we really need to look at this technology, nuclear technology, to solve our power supply problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank
Mr.
you.
Speaker, Your Honor, I'd just like to convey to everybody here and my distinguished colleague, Congressman Dagook, that on Wednesday at 1 p.m., we have a committee meeting in the Committee of Nuclear Energy. Your suggestions po, I hope you will say it there and expound on it there so that we could come to an action by the committee. Thank you to my honorable gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Congressman Sergio Dagohoc. Majority Leader?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we extend the privilege hour for 30 more minutes.
Is there an objection? Hearing none, the extension is hereby approved. Majority Leader?